first question that's very pressing to both of us is, where did your band name originate from? That's a fun
Mm, that is a good question. I have to think back now because it's morphed. We used to just be Spinster, and we were kind of reclaiming the name a little bit. It is, you might know, it's a become a derogatory term for an unmarried woman, and but back in the day, it was kind of a cool thing because it meant somebody who was making an independent income and didn't have to be married. So we thought it was super cool.
Literal spinning.
Yeah.
Spinning yarn.
Mhm.
And then it's kind of formed some other entendres. There's this idea of spinning as in like spinning tales, or spinning yarns as in music and lyrics. And that was a version of why that someone else came up with, and you're like, yeah, I like that. And then we must have tapped into the collective consciousness because everything was Spinster. We were seeing like Spinster hair products, Spinster lip balm, Spinster candles. People would like send us stuff, and there were at least 4 other bands named Spinster around about the time, and we were starting to get confused with one in Australia and Oregon, and they were tagging us on stuff that we hadn't made, and so to avoid the lawsuit, we decided that we needed to add a word or two. So we added "Call Me," which also was a shout out to one of our first cover mashups that we wrote all together. We did a cover mashup of "Call Me Maybe" by Carly Rae Jepsen, "Call Me" by Blondie, and Hotline Bling by Drake. And so it became sort of our calling card. And then we were like, if it's already on our website, let's just be Spinster.
It was our Instagram handles. We were like, fine, that's easy. And I think we liked the vibe of Spinster having this kind of old timey vibe, but also was like a little bit punk rock. And we were like, Spinster sounds like it could be like a hair band from the 80s. It could like go a lot of different directions. And at that point, we were just kind of doing this as a goofy like summer project because we're all teachers and we're working full time. So we did summer band, like summer sister band for a few summers during our summer vacation. And so we were just kind of messing around and had no idea what kind of music we would be making. At this point, we were learning pop covers on accordion, upright bass, and like trash percussion only. So, we didn't know.
Our genre is continuing to still figure itself and evolve. So we were like nostalgic, sistery, female, and with the possibility of something a little harder,
metal one day.
Do you guys ever get compared to like Haim as far as the sister bands go?
We get a lot. We get the Roaches, which is another fun throwback. And we've also recently with Feet Are Dirty, we've gotten Sylvanesso or Dirty Projectors, which is a fun comparison. We're like, yeah,
I'll take it. Yeah, honestly, loving that track recently. Yeah. We've been bumping it on the station all the time.
Wait, she's the music director, so she's in charge of all things here.
Yeah, we got Mule on it too now.
Yeah, that might be a good segue to introduce each of you and your little bit of your background, just so we get to know you individually and then collectively.
I'm Amelia. I play keys and accordion and sometimes guitar in the band. And I'm the oldest sister, but actually the newest to music, at least coming back around to music. So this has been a fun later in life project for me. And we all sing and all write songs. So I wrote on this record that you've heard so far, Feet Are Dirty was, we're like primary songwriters, I guess you could say. We all heavily collaborate on them. And Mule was a collaboration with my husband.
And I Went Down.
Born in a Dish. And there's a couple more too that we haven't heard yet. But will come out soon.
And I'm Rachel. I'm the middle sister. We sit in birth order for our own. And I play drums in the band, and have also at various points played mandolin and banjo and some other folksier instruments, but right now I'm mostly on drum set. And I kind of brought the Burn the Boxes is the most recent single that was one of my babies.
Awesome.
I'm Rosie. I'm the littlest sister, and I play bass, upright, and electric, and sometimes a little bit of flute. And Married is the one that's out. That's why I was the primary right now.
Awesome. So do you guys teach music, or are you teaching different things? And music is like just another great skill you have.
Well, individually, Amelia is trained as a special ed and literacy teacher. Rosie's a German and early childhood specialist, and I taught dance and choir.
Okay.
That was my main gig, but currently I'm teaching music with preschoolers. So it's sort of incorporating their curriculum needs through music. It's my gig.
Another great one. Yeah. And so how, you guys started out playing an accordion that you found in your grandpa's attic. Is that it?
Yeah.
How much does the accordion, kind of go into your songwriting process now? Is it something you add in, or is it kind of nostalgic to like start off on the accordion when you're writing new songs?
That's a great question. Actually, when I first started out, I kind of had to write on the accordion because the way that a piano accordion is structured anyway, there's the keyboard on one side and then the chords are all arranged. It's a button for like a major, a minor, a seventh, and a diminished chord, and so you don't have to actually know how to play the chord to play the chord. And so it was hugely helpful for me as a musical novice to be able to write, and they're clustered in a really logical way. So it's, I don't know how musically nerdy you are, but it's like in circle of fifths. So if you're playing a kind of 3 or 4 chord song, all the buttons are right there. And so it was kind of a cheat for me. And now I don't really write as much that way. I'm kind of learning the chords, so that's helpful.
That's huge.
But yeah, I think we're starting to kind of hear, we will sort of start with a melody and usually some lyrics that kind of like pop out of us. Usually we're not around an instrument. Rosie, I guess you write with the ukulele a little bit
That's
more.
usual. Yeah, my choice for some reason.
Yeah. But I usually am just kind of singing stuff in the car or the bathtub. Those are my 2 spots. And then I'm figuring out what chords work after the fact. So accordion we'll kind of think, is this an accordion song? This sounds like a piano song. This sounds like a, folky guitar song. This is a pop song. We should try to program some drums, or I don't know. We would just kind of start with the song and try to figure out what it is, which is why this record is all over the place.
That's the best kind. That's the best kind.
Not for sure.
Yes.
So how does that process then go between sisters? Do you bounce between each other? Do you guys fight for dominance? Like what is the overall dynamic?
Yeah, I would say it depends on the song and it depends on the songwriter. Amelia and her husband are a great duo because he comes up with these really timeless feeling songs. Mule is kind of one of them that he was really a part of. And it just sounds like a song that's always existed. He and Amelia, but he's more or less tone deaf. So Amelia can kind of she's his songwriting doula. So she can kind of like check it, like play a guitar chord or two and be like, this is where you're going, right? Or like,
be like, is it? He's like, I don't know.
Like a check work. Yeah.
He's like, it's faster, faster. And
At different times.
No.
But he's not a musician at all, but has been singing in the car to himself for decades. And he's a really good lyricist. And so a lot of times if I'm kind of struggling with lyrics, we'll do that with all of us. We'll somebody will alley-oop a verse, or usually someone else writes the bridge of the song. That seems to be typical.
It's easier to have an external ear on where the song kind of needs to turn. And I would say we in general write each other's parts because I think it's easier in that same way to hear what's missing when you're not in it. So I think Amelia hears my drum parts. I feel like I always hear bass lines that I'm like, oh, this is a melody. This is like the counter melody that I want to feel instead of hear. That's also rhythmic. And no one knows what to do with the accordion. Amelia, but I think it we'll sometimes, depending on the song, we'll sometimes even do like a total genre change, like Married in my mind, for example, Rosie brought as this really sweet, lilty kind of jazz song. And Amelia and I were like, what if we made it
Well, it reminded
acid?
us of an Air song, that there's like the French band Air, but
right.
So yeah. 'Cause I'm just discovering the soul band Air that from the 70s. Do you guys know them?
No, I don't.
Anyway, there's two great Airs, but anyway, this is
Someone
the
should
90s one
call me
that we
Air.
grew up listening to. And so we were like, just started thinking of it a little bit more like 90s,
like
You
trip
call that
techno.
trip
kind of-
techno. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, what would you call Air as a genre?
Oh, maybe. Oh boy, I don't even know. I guess kind of like a dream pop, but
Oh,
like
that's
the
a good way.
older 90s version. I don't
Mhm.
know, more string sounds, but yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I can definitely hear that. And in kind of in that vein, what are some of your main musical influences as you guys are, finding your own very unique sound?
Well, I think we have to own the fact that we grew up with Joni Mitchell inherited through our mother's DNA. It's just like a part of her. Our mom is a choir teacher, was actually our choir teacher. But I think Joni Mitchell was sort of her safe space of just music for music. And so that's in our voices. It's something we grew up singing. But then I'd say as that evolved, as our own tastes evolved, we've kind of gone many different directions. I'd say, we've been through the phases of angry girl rock, had big Ani DeFranco and Mira and Moldy Peaches phase, but also hip hop. We grew up in this really great hip hop scene.
We grew up in St. Paul, Minnesota, and the Minneapolis and St. Paul hip hop scene is pretty incredible, and just music scene in general. So we were kind of steeped in a pretty cool music scene, but we listened to everything. I mean, we listened to. I was a big like Clash and Cure fan. I still am, obviously. Neo Soul was like most of what we listened to throughout high school. D'Angelo, Erykah Badu, Jill Scott. We've all gone through periods, I think, of listening to a lot of jazz. We actually grew up listening to a lot of the
vocal jazz, like
jazz.
Nina Simone and Etta and
Ella Lewis. I mean, we grew up in a pretty like classic jazz, classical, and then all of the sort of 60s folk greats household was sort of what our parents listened to. A lot of Stevie Wonder. What else? There's some big ones.
Yeah, any of
Lauryn
those
Hill.
records that we were going through, Stevie Wonder. Yeah.
So everything.
All over
Yeah, we're just making lists now.
But I can hear that in your sound. I mean, it's such a great fusion of. It was kind of reminding us of like some Faye Webster. That kind of it's both R&B, but also folk, but also just a bunch of other great things. So it's kind of that, I feel like that Atlanta folk sound kind of.
Oh,
That's
actually we have the same producer as Faye, so
That makes so much sense.
and
Okay.
we're in the same room. So I feel like that room has its own sound. It's this really unique and a lot of cool old 70s analog equipment. It's just it's a cool space called Chase Park Transduction in Athens, Georgia.
Cool.
Wow.
Okay, well, there you have it then, I guess.
Yes, very tuned. Good ear.
Well, with you guys' process, I'm the oldest, you're the middle
Yeah.
child. So does any of that dynamic spill into how you guys interact with each other? Just how much has birth order mattered to you guys, especially in a band setting rather than just like a family setting?
It's like calling the pot black, right? Like how can we even separate what it is? But
Right.
yes, 100,000,000%, I'm sure it's everything.
Well, we've spent a lot of time really breaking it down, I think, and it's, we're all like early in marriages. Well, I'm not anymore. I'm an old weathered so but early-ish in motherhood, and I think all of those institutions are like big, you better woman up fast and try to learn how to apologize, learn how to change your ways, and I think definitely doing anything with your family and especially your siblings is that way too. I think we very quickly fell into a lot of birth order stuff, and we're learning some tricks that I think help us be pretty intentional about trying to mitigate some of them. I mean, I think we've also really started to appreciate each other's superpowers that I think come with birth order. I think like Rosie's, as a third child, like is an amazing listener and is also incredibly kind and has this kind of is looking out for the whole picture in a way that has really kept us together, and
Which we taught her how to do by not letting her talk.
That'll do it. Yeah.
Oh, you're welcome. Didn't have to. But I also had zero initiative.
but I have a tendency to like diesel engine like my way through life, and which can have its posies and neggies.
And I think that that's maybe one of the many things that our song Burn the Boxes is kind of about too, is like the boxes that we put ourselves in with birth order, with astrological sign, with Enneagram, with, identities as married people or parents or spinsters, or, there's just so many ways to box yourself. And so that's something that we're working on together, is like being playful with those boxes and using them to talk lovingly about each other, and being really gentle, trying to be gentle with each other as well.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's the benefit of like having, a business to focus on with each other, that we have to see each other, and we practice seeing each other. And like I think a lot of families don't get that, and it does make it easier when you see each other in a day-to-day to understand like the context of your life
and appreciate each other.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's been so cool to kind of get to know you guys in a different way as parents, for instance, or like to see just see that all play out. And because we spend lots of time together.
I bet.
Lots of that.
How was like the process of, creating your upcoming album? How has that been different or the same than recording Potholes was?
Recording Potholes, it's kind of hard to separate. I think it's been ongoing, really. I mean, these songs have been, Feet Are Dirty actually was one of our first ones 7 years ago. So they've been evolving and growing and changing. And as we collaborate with people, and as we got into the studio, and then when we ran out of time in the studio and had to bring it back home and finish, and so it feels like it's all kind of run together with all of the other logistics that are a part of being a band. I think that's one of the hard things for us is we call it mode switching. Like when we're in writing mode, when we're in writing emails mode, logistics mode, and then when we're in performing mode. And it's really hard to go from mode to mode, but inevitably as a musician, you have to, even with a manager and a booking agent and all the,
So we hear. We don't know.
We haven't got that.
Well, you write our own email.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's ongoing.
But someone asked us recently if she was like, my mom always said that, having a first child you were like so precious about, and then the second one was like essentially feral, and you're like not hovering at whatever the opposite of helicopter parenting is.
And he's like, yep, I'm feral.
Like it was your EP versus your full length album like that, and in a way it kind of was for us too, because we started the EP and finished it in we started before COVID, and then we had to shut down our session and learn how to self-record at home to finish it. And so we had this, and we weren't trying to finish it for a particular date to tour on, for instance, so it just sort of stretched into perpetuity. And so we labored on it and had this really lengthy back and forth mixing process with the producer Drew, and anyway, we kind of coddled it and we're a lot more precious about it. And I think this one feels a little bit more raw. Like sometimes the vocals, I'm like, oh yeah, we left that pretty raw. But I think that's I like that it was a little bit less precious, and we came with the songs more fully baked, and we did a lot of the initial tracking as like a 4-piece band live. And so, you can't scrub that super tidily. And I think that's where we've kind of embraced that as part of our sound. And so that's fun. I think that was a distinct difference between the two projects.
Yeah, totally.
Wow, I really like that.
You're
I want you to ask that question.
Which one?
Number 5.
Number 5.
Yeah. So you were excited about that. I don't want to take over.
I am. So we saw that you guys, have tried your hand at some Prince covers and some Drake covers, as you kind of are. I think that's like great. I'm like an ironic Drake fan, but it's really not ironic at all. Like,
the Instagram handle Drake on Cake. Someone has, I don't know if that still exists.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. So like my question is, what was the inspiration behind those choices, and which songs did you cover?
So the Prince song, so we're from Minnesota, so we feel like we need to really
pay tribute to
yes,
the king.
spend some time. We need to like have a whole retreat just to like learn at least a slice of the
and that should have been listed in our influences, I think. Particular there's particular albums that I've definitely listened to almost purely in time periods. One of those is Musicology, actually, if you know that record, but it's a later one. Anyway,
so what we've tackled a little bit so far is kind of a deep cut. It's Strange Relationship.
I think is it Sign of the Time?
Yes. What's this strange relationship?
And then
we did sort of a mashup early on that none of us can remember. That was When Doves Cry, Strange Relationship, and
Dearly Beloved.
Yeah, it was that one.
But and then our Drake cover was also a mashup that we did in the Call Me triptych, and that I think there is a YouTube video of that. It's a deep cut of ours. It's like one of the first things we ever put out was a friend of ours' house burned down, which was very sad, but they wanted us to make something beautiful before they renovated all of it. So we got to go into the kind of ashes and embers and record a couple of songs. So
we recorded a Drake cover.
Yes, he pays homage to
Every Fuel and another
yeah.
I call it some. There were some more reverent moments in that. Yeah.
But
Sure. Yeah, I love that. That's such a fun concept for a mashup.
Oh yeah. I couldn't have dreamed it up. And so I'm glad you guys did.
I go pretty well.
yeah, it was, yeah.
We could have just done mashup. I think we would have been very happy just doing that. And I don't know how comfortable we were kind of living in the pitch perfect world forever, but it's like, this is so fun.
Yeah,
you can
it's
really
dangerous.
get lost in here.
And that's always a fallback plan, is to just be a mashup wedding band and then sell our merch as just a fashion line. It's always there in the back burner.
How much German has Rosie tried to slip into the lyrics of your song?
We tried to do a Cure cover.
Oh yeah, we
do.
do.
We were gonna do
Leave
Leave
a
a Cat
Cat.
instead of Love Cats, but we never actually performed that. We have done a German Halloween song.
Oh yes. Yeah, for a while especially when we were doing these like 2 to 3 hour brunch gigs, we would play literally every song we knew.
We just hope people had a birthday, so we had an excuse to sing happy birthday on.
We had we would try to do a German song, a French song, and a Spanish song in the set song there, because those are our 3 kind of primary secondary languages of
yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. You guys do a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
Well, as we both have 2 sisters, so I'm feeling like this has been
Oh, it totally has.
I mean, we got to get on this.
Never too late. We started in our like late 20s, early 30s.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, I'm excited.
My sisters would kick me for even asking. So
well, you never know until you try.
That is true. That is true.
Yeah.
We'll follow up after.
If you had told me in my early 20s that I would be living in Chattanooga, Tennessee, within a mile or 2 radius of my sisters and my parents downstairs, I'd be like, huh? All right. And here we are. The cult is alive.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So how have, we kind of saw some things on your bio about just how the schedule of a band, it's a little different for you guys because you're mothers, aunts, so how has that kind of influenced your sound, your image, even lyrical themes? I don't know how much you guys like to write about your babies, but things like that.
Oh yeah, it's all a part of it. In fact, I think our label gave us the license when we were talking about the images that we wanted to put forward in Potholes. And they were like, you guys are moms, like be moms. And we were like, oh, you can just do that, you can just be yourself, and people like want to embrace that, so it's actually become a part of everything. Or I guess we've just kind of like stopped trying to make it otherwise. So a big part of our imagery is our cover art is a set of busts that Amelia, a triptych of busts that Amelia and her husband have just had in their house.
I found it at an antique store, thrift store at some point. I was like, that looks like an album cover. I'm gonna buy those. And so we've just had them on our mantle so people come in.
So that Amelia's husband photographed those, and they were right. It was like, this feels right. And I think as breastfeeders at various points in our lives, and then also as partners, and also as just females in general, like that changing idea of what it means to connect with that image that is also feels super false and really plastic and so just kind of feels evocative, and then we've also just kind of accepted the ongoing kid chaos that is a part of our lives, and it's been also now a part of our music videos. And in fact, we've even enlisted Amelia's almost 7-year-old to do the art for our music video for Burn the Boxes.
I was totally inspired by this this dollhouse that he and now his 2-year-old sister are constantly retrofitting with different cardboard pieces of furniture and that sort of thing. So we weren't planning on making a video for it, and we were like drinking coffee down in the basement where they have their kind of craft zone at like 7 in the morning, and Dan's like, I think I could figure out how to put you guys in there. We should just shoot that today. And we were like, okay. And so we went and like started this family assembly line of cardboard instruments. One of our friends was in, anyway, that's a long tangent, but it's been a fun sort of family project. He also just, the 6-year-old designed one of our merch t-shirt.
Oh, wow.
Oh, whoa.
T-shirt. So yeah, we just kind of make it a family endeavor. We just shot another music video this weekend that involves our kids, and we'll see how that.
It's funny how it's kind of morphed though from like a lot of our songs kind of being about
some of our
like
earliest songs
being truly part of the song.
The first 2 songs I ever wrote are Here You Are and Morning, and those were definitely sort of kid love songs.
Yeah. In fact, her husband's kind of waiting for him to get in the song. They're all over.
Great, break us. I don't know what you're Who needs a love song?
My husband actually plays in the band with us, so he is both a muse and a hired hand.
As any husband should be.
Yes. Yeah, so we're keeping it in the fam. And then Rosie's husband is a bass player and has pinch hit on, he actually played bass on the EP, but not on the LP.
That's right.
So it's all a family
correct.
affair. Yeah.
Mhm. That's great. You could just wait for them to get old enough to be backup singers, and then you'll be golden.
Exactly.
No, they're definitely want to be in that spotlight. We'll be writing songs for them.
Yeah.
For sure.
You pass the mantle down.
Yeah, exactly. They're ready
Kind of
for
like a
that moment.
superhero. You pass on the cape and
Yeah.
the mask. And
Precisely.
Yeah, there you go.
I was telling Lanie, like, just scrolling through all your stuff, listening, it's just very human and refreshing. Even just like what you guys are saying now, I don't know, I feel like a weight off my shoulders because that femininity being such a beautiful portion of who you guys are and your music is such a fantastic element to incorporate. So thinking back on that, what has been the most rewarding part of just what you guys do as a whole?
That was so sweet.
Yeah, I'm following in his terms. I think what sort of doing the work of being able to not only enjoy spending time as a family, but then make something together, and then seeing how that seems to be really contagious for our fans and community at large. We just have felt such an overwhelming sense of doors opening for us in so many ways. And we're going about this music thing in a very slow way, but even with that, we're getting such resounding support. And I'd like to think that it's because we're doing it from a place of caring for ourselves and for one another, and then have the space to make stuff that is bigger than us.
Totally.
I think like when going back to Here You Are, and kind of when we started writing songs all together, just going into our practice space and playing this thing all together, that we're like, this came to us, and like we've been like lucky enough to have the time to be conduits of this stuff, and that is so rewarding, and being able to share it with this community that's been so responsive. It's been super cool.
No, I love that.
Yeah. I'm gonna cry.
Yes.
Well, it has been so great talking to you guys. We have had a
Mhm.
blast, and we again are huge fans of the music. So
For
super
sure.
excited. Tell us about what's next for you guys? What can people look forward to? We've got a release date coming up soon, so a little bit
Can
about
we
that.
talk you into coming up to Manhattan?
Manhattan, Kansas is
Yeah, let's go.
We have a Midwest tour planned just because that's where we're from. We know some really awesome bands actually you'd probably love. We're gonna do some shows with our friend Lucy Michelle. She has some really good solo stuff. She had a band called Lucy Michelle and the Velvet Lapels, and she has a band now called Little Fevers. So we're gonna do some shows with her and Little Fevers in Minnesota, and then we're gonna play some shows with our friend Julia Blair, who has a really good solo record out, and then also is in a band called Dusk. That's great. It's kind of like a punky country Americana band, and so we'll hit Wisconsin with her, play with another gal named Kaylee Conway, who's awesome. She did this kind of like almost like a remix EP of a Joni Mitchell song. That's very brilliant. I've been listening to that a lot. Anyway, so it's going to be this cool kind of lady powered tour for a few weeks, and we're spreading out through the Southwest on little weekend spurs. Southeast, sorry. That's where we live.
So like Birmingham, Oxford, Athens, Atlanta, Chattanooga. But hoping to get back out and play more shows in the fall. Rosie's got baby number 2 on the way in July.
Band baby number 5.
Yes.
Our parents are downstairs right now with the whole brood, and it's like getting
They're like,
I don't know how long.
back up. But we're gonna hopefully be hitting the road again sometime when you're
in
ready.
the fall.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
we've got another record in the pipeline. So we've got some of it recorded actually, potentially, and then we've got a good 10 more songs probably ready to go. And so we'll be kind of in writing mode during babycation, and hopefully get back in the stewed and
awesome.
get that turned out faster than the last gap, potentially. We'll see how many other babies go.
Pending the pandemic and baby and all the other life things, but
Yes. Awesome.
It's like we'll get you to the Little Apple someday.
We will. We will. I mean, the
Love
kid's
that.
a little older, Yeah. Yeah.
Where can people watching this follow you? Keep up with what you're doing?
Instagram, we're on TikTok. We're working on it in our old lady
Session.
and YouTube. We have a lot of music videos that we're putting out. We're going to try and push for some kind of visual for every song.
I don't know about that, but we're
most of the songs.
and we did some great ones for the EP too. So I think the visual part of our band is one of our favorite parts of it. So check those out, and just all the streaming stuff. And also we're gonna have some really sweet merch. We're getting
like boobs. They're everywhere.
We do.
We're getting those busts embroidered on this t-shirt. We just saw a mock-up today that's super cool. But anyway, check out, we'll have that up on our website if you want to get some cool swag.
That'd be awesome.
All right. That's awesome. Thanks so much for talking to us,
thank
guys.
you so much.
Great.
You're awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks so
Hope you
much.
rescue the parents. Have a good rest of your day.
Yes, thank
You
you.
too, ciao.